game show that is running on the internet on Mondays at 5 Eastern and 4 Central with me as the host. And these two amazing contestants ready to battle it out today. Ryan Phillips, senior writer, The Big Lead, at Rumors and Rants on Twitter, also the co-host of the Assembly Call podcast. This is an all-Indiana battle today. Ryan Phillips is a tough compadre, and he's ready to roll today. Look at him. Word on the street is that a major shave is coming to the Phillips family and your face in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, Carm, I've grown 5 beards since the world shut down last year. This is number 5, and it is going away. I'm sorry. I realize my facial hair has become a thing when I come on this show now, and I realize that's probably the wrong way to sort of lean into this and build my brand. So no more facial hair. We're done.
No one said it was wrong. I think it's a wonderful look, but I'm interested to see what a fresh face Ryan Phillips looks like in the future. Ben Heisler, welcome in. This is our first ever Sport and Order contestant who rose from another company, we won't mention them, Sports Illustrated, and then all of a sudden just gets hired by the FanSided brand and is now a Sport and Order in the family contestant, the managing editor for BetSided, which everybody should be checking out. You guys are doing phenomenal work over there, Ben. Welcome.
Thank you, Carm. It's good to be here, and it just goes to show to everybody that if you appear on an episode of Sport and Order and you take care of business, even against tough competition, like my guy Ryan over here, it proves to you that you might get that opportunity to take it to the next step of your career, and I've been very fortunate.
I forgot about that. You beat Phillips in a head-to-head battle. That might have been the ultimate key that unlocked your BetSided future. We'll see what happens today. 7 questions on the board. They get 30 seconds to answer. I am the judge and jury awarding points. 1st to 4 is your winner. And let's get going with the NBA. And I know where you stand on this one, Ryan Phillips, but maybe time has changed at least to somewhat of your perspective. Who knows? But the Lakers, I'm asking, there he is. Russell Westbrook wanted to get back to California, and he's there with LeBron. And I'm asking the question, is this version of the Lakers destined to win a championship, or will they bad shoot their way out of the playoffs? Do they hit a home run with Russ and giving away basically nothing? Ryan, go ahead.
This was a terrible trade that makes absolutely no sense. The Lakers have not embraced modern basketball, which relies on the three-point shot. The last 3 years, 29th, 21st, and 21st in three-point shooting. And oh, by the way, they just traded their best three-point shooter in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who shot 41%. They won a championship in the bubble 2 years ago because all of a sudden some guys got hot. That was the only thing that won that for them. That and LeBron James and AD, which will always be there. A Buddy Hield trade was on the table before they went to Westbrook. They opted for the lane clogger and not the guy who could space the floor. Like everyone else in LA, Rob Pelinka, instead of doing the smart thing, decided to be a star effer and went out and got Russell Westbrook instead of Buddy Hield.
I mean, somebody needs to create some opportunities for people on the basketball team other than LeBron. But hey, okay, dug in deeply. Ben, what do you think here?
I don't know if this is necessarily a home run. It's certainly not a strikeout. It might be somewhere in between, I don't know, a triple and a double, maybe somewhere along those lines for anybody that gets the reference. I certainly hope you did. But listen, the Lakers are still plus 375 over at WinBet. They're right behind the Brooklyn Nets. There's clearly other things besides public money going on the Lakers next year. You still have Russell Westbrook that takes some pressure off of LeBron, takes some pressure off of AD to be able to distribute, get opportunities for the rest of his teammates. And let's not forget, too, the 2 teams that were in the NBA Finals this year, the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks, not particularly good three-point shooting teams in the postseason. What did they do? They relied on the mid-range. Giannis used his body inside to create havoc and opportunity. This is something that we might start to see, especially with the Lakers that weren't a good three-point shooting team. You might as well embrace it. I actually don't hate the move.
Wow. Phillips is just full multiple head shakes. Heisler is nobody just mentioned they didn't give up anything. What did they give up? KCP? He's okay. Kyle Kuzma was worthless to them.
They gave up the only assets they could trade for other guys is what they gave up.
That's a fair point.
Where were those other guys? They never came.
I think at the end of the day, and I wasn't with Heisler at all when he's bringing up the betting at lines, but then he brought up that it's not just public money, which I thought was an excellent point. Ben Heisler going deep into the money on what's being bet on the Lakers, plus a change in basketball strategies that we saw in the finals. Ben, I like it. Ryan Phillips, you are going to be. I hope you're right for the record, but I think
I am.
Okay. I hope you are. I think they're winning it all with those three. That's just me. We'll see what it plays out. We got a year on that one, so let's move along. 1-0 Heisler on the board. We're jumping around today. We're going to football now, and of course, the big story out of training camp is Carson Wentz. Out maybe up to 3 months with a foot injury. He's got to have a bone removed from the foot. That doesn't sound like fun. Give me your best interim solution for the Colts, who are now officially in never-ending quarterback problems. Ben, what do you got for Indy?
I don't know if I'll win this round, but I might win some brownie points at Minute Media because I wrote about this very subject over at FanSided.com. The Nick Foles trade, the reuniting with Frank Reich, it makes too much sense for it not to happen. Put Carson Wentz's ego aside. He's talked about the family dynamic now in Indianapolis. They don't have to give up much to get Foles, and the Bears win because they get that contract off the books, and the Colts can eat the money. They have room with their salary cap to make it happen. It's an instant fit. It's a short-term solution, and Wentz is still the guy moving forward long-term. Nobody misses a beat if they bring in Nick Foles, and everybody ends up being happy, maybe except for Carson Wentz.
It's logical and easy, and maybe the Bears even get an asset. You got anything better than that, Ryan?
Yeah, I got a fun one. We got Gardner Minshew. We all joke about the mullet and how he's been down in Jacksonville, whatever. In 2020, he completed 66.1% of his passes, had 16 touchdowns against 5 interceptions, and a passer rating of 95.9 on the worst team in the NFL. In 797 career attempts, he's only thrown 11 interceptions. He doesn't make mistakes and will not hurt the Colts. It'll allow their excellent defense to win games, allow that running game to get going, and he won't hurt them. That was the big problem with Phillip Rivers last year, was late game interceptions. He won't do that. He will keep them afloat until they get their quarterback back in Carson Wentz.
I mean, I think you could have even gone further. He might just supplant Carson Wentz. I am so riding down Ryan Phillips' way on this one. Gardner Minshew, he was doing with the Jags. The guy's been playing good football. Nobody's giving him any love because he's undersized and doesn't throw the ball that hard. I don't know. The numbers speak for themselves, and I think if you put him on a good football team, you can win games with him. And Nick Foles is just bad. I mean,
Carmen, he also had no time to throw with that Bears offensive line. He had the fourth fewest amount of time to throw in the league. Now, all of a sudden, he goes to Indianapolis behind the best offensive line in the NFL. He's going to look a lot better.
He would look better. He couldn't look any worse. I would completely agree with you. But if you need all the best of it to be successful, I just think that overall, you don't tell me that Carson Wentz for sure is your answer. I like a nice little competition. We got 1-1 here. Phillips is on the board, and let's go over to baseball. Everybody loved the trade deadline, unless maybe if you're a Cubs fan. But even then, I think Cubs fans got to get on board here. But the 48 hours was just awesome. 31 trades. There you see Bryant in a Giants uniform. Hey, my guy Anthony Rizzo. I want your biggest trade deadline winner here. I think you both might go the same way here, but it was a really interesting deadline. A lot of ways you could go with this. Ryan, what do you think?
The Dodgers are the obvious, boring answer. So I'm going to give you another one because that's what everybody's going to say. How about the White Sox? They created the best bullpen in baseball by adding Craig Kimbrell, only gave up a slap-hitting second baseman who's injured for the rest of the year. And then to fill his spot at second base, they went and got Cesar Hernandez, who is under contract again for next year for only $6 million. And he's on pace to be a 4-WAR player, was a Gold Glove finalist last year, and they've got all these guys coming back from injury. I love what the White Sox did. They filled the 2 major holes, got another bullpen arm, the best one on the market, and filled that second base hole with a cheap option who's around, and he's actually pretty darn good. I love what the White Sox did. I love how they're sitting in the American League.
All in and didn't really give up that much. Ben, what do you think?
Listen, if Tony La Russa at age 76 is going to make a bullpen gaffe in the postseason, you might as well do it with perhaps the best bullpen that we've seen in years with the White Sox. It's a very good pick, but I'll go with the San Francisco Giants because they added a third baseman, they added a first baseman, they added a left fielder, center fielder, right fielder, all in one guy in Chris Bryant. He's a former MVP, has an opportunity to go to a team that he grew up rooting for with the Giants, perhaps an opportunity for him to stay there long term. The Giants only gave up their number 9 and number 30 prospects in the deal to get an impact bat like Chris Bryant. And this is also a team that hasn't moved up their opportunities, knowing that this is still part of a rebuilding process. So Bryant could be there long term, and they didn't give up valuable assets the way that the Padres and the Dodgers have over the course of this year. So I think the Giants really capitalized by bringing in somebody like Chris Bryant who can play everywhere for them.
So this is a tough one for me because I love what San Francisco did. You're giving out number 9 and number 30 to get a former MVP. I'd say that's pretty good. I also think the White Sox going all in makes a ton of sense. And you gave up, as Phillips put it so appropriately, a slap hitting second baseman, who I think will fit nicely on any team, but I don't think you'll miss him at the end of the day either. What trade do I like more between those two? I guess I got to go with San Francisco. You got a stud player.
He has been slumping most of the year.
I know. He was great for the first 2 months, then he was down, then he's back up. I think they played poker well. The Giants just hung out and they hit a home run right at the end when the Cubs had nowhere to go with them. So San Francisco, congratulations, and congratulations to you, Ben. 2-1. All right, let's go straight Cubs here. So we got Chris Bryant, we got Javi Baez, we got Anthony Rizzo. They all homered in their first games with their new respective teams. Whoever tweeted out, what'd it be like if all those three guys were on the same team? They'd be amazing. So, yeah, right. The Cubs tear down. It's fast. It's furious. It happened. I want to know if you guys think they did the right thing. Breaking up the core. They could have retooled around one of them, around two of them. Ben, you're a diehard on the Cubs side of things. What do you think?
Yeah, they did the right thing. And by the way, shame on you, Carman, for not including the great Ryan Tepera and Andrew Chafin among those names on the list. Certainly worth consideration here. But they did the right thing. The offense as a unit had been broken over the past 4 postseasons, and certainly during the regular season as well, when they had the talent to increase a pretty wide lead in a very wide open NL Central. And Jed Hoyer, to his credit, recognized the problem in his first year as the new president of baseball operations. So I will miss watching all 3 of those guys play because they were brilliant at times, but collectively since 2016, they just weren't able to get consistent wins. In fact, no wins over the last 3 postseasons at all. So at some point, that's what you have to play for, an opportunity to get to the World Series. And the Cubs offense is constructed the way that it was, simply wasn't going to get there. They weren't going to watch the same movie over and over again and expect different results.
We have been watching the movie for a long time. That is true. Ryan?
Well, I'm going to say no, but with a caveat. Since the Ricketts family has decided they're poor all of a sudden, the right thing would have been to trade them all in the offseason where they could have gotten a better return than they did. The returns were not great for those great players. They didn't get a whole lot because Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant are all rentals. As soon as the Cubs decided to trade Yu Darvish to cut salary, as if that should matter with that family in Chicago, they should have cleaned house and got significant returns. Instead, they took a half measure, sort of were half in, half out on this season, and wound up in a bad spot and had a discount fire sale at the end. Yes, trading them is the right move. They should have done it before the season when they could have gotten actual return.
It's an extremely fair point, and even before the offseason, they should have done it a long time ago.
They let Kyle Schwarber walk for nothing.
That was horrible, too. And Ben, you're arguing against yourself on this one because you just said the Giants made the greatest move ever. I get that we can have two sides of this, but wouldn't it have been sweet if they had said, "Hey, Chris, this is the deal. We're keeping you, and okay, you didn't get number 9 and number 30 from the Giants, and you built around him. And you could put him anywhere. To me, that would make sense. You're not trying to do the same thing they did way back in the day. Phillips has tied it up here, 2-2. It's true. They should have been dealt way earlier. All right, let's look at our NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ben, this is straight down BetSided's lane. So what do we think here? Trevor Lawrence is the heavy favorite. I'm looking for some betting value here. Who are you putting your money on to take home the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year? Ryan, what do you got? Let's make some dough here.
I'm going down the list and going with Jamar Chase at plus 1,200. The LSU receiver, he sat out last year. He's been solely focused on his NFL career and getting here. The Bengals have improved their offensive line. He's reuniting with a healthy Joe Burrow, his buddy from LSU. He's a true game-breaking talent. He and T. Higgins running free in the secondary. They're not going to be able to double cover him. I think he's going to put up huge numbers. He is an absolute beast. His final year of college with Burrow as his quarterback, he caught 84 passes for 1,780 yards and 20 touchdowns and won the Biletnikoff. He was the best player in college football that year, and quite frankly, should have been more in contention for the Heisman. Obviously, it went to Burrow, but I think those two pairing up again is huge value at plus 1,200.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he is moving up the board. More and more people are liking Jamar Chase. Ben, what do you think is value right now?
The problem about Jamar Chase is that wide receivers just don't win this award the way that quarterbacks and running backs do. We've only seen 2 wide receivers since 2009 win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, even though Chase is in a terrific position to succeed. I'm going to give you another name, another skill position. That's Najee Harris with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's at 11-1 over at WinBet. They drafted him to be the next Le'Veon Bell, not the crappy Le'Veon Bell that we saw with the New York Jets and with the Kansas City Chiefs, the old school Pittsburgh Steelers catching 80 to 90 passes Le'Veon Bell. It's a huge part of what they're doing in Pittsburgh. They like to have that bell cow running back. It makes all the sense in the world with somebody like Harris, a first round running back. That's a perfect fit in that system to be able to go ahead and make that happen. If you want an even bigger value, Javonte Williams with the Denver Broncos is actually tied at WinBet for the same amount of rushing yards as that of Najee Harris. And you can get him at 20-1 for the opportunity for NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. So the Broncos running back and the Steelers running back make for an intriguing combination, but I will go with Najee Harris because you know what his role is going to be right from the get-go, and Pittsburgh needs him to be great.
How often do running backs win the award, Ben, if you're busting out the only 2 wide receivers since 2009?
They have 3 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year awards, I believe, in the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is
special, though. I have to admit, I do like a helmeted dump truck with a 40-inch vertical.
I mean, the system, they need him. There's no doubt about it.
He was plus 500 when I saw him. I didn't think that was a huge value.
No, that's a fair take here. But I got to be honest, I was just I'm like wowed by Heisler right now. So, I mean, Najee Harris seems like a safer play, I guess. And growing up in the Carman family, he who gambles lives in shambles. I like safe plays. This seems like a more logical move here. So 3-2 Ben. Let's see if Phillips can get 6 and 7, or will Heisler again take the crown as we go to the NBA one more time. And my guy Ben Simmons, the trade watch continues. Wasn't dealt on draft night. Everyone said he's going to go today. Didn't go. Now we're into free agency. Now I'm hearing the Sixers are going to hang on to Ben, or they're okay with it because nobody's giving anything. But let's just find Ben a new home. I think it would be good for Ben. I'd be entertained by it. Who should step up and make a trade that the Sixers would do with Ben Simmons? Ben Heisler, you got anything?
Yeah, everybody's talking about the Portland Trailblazers as a potential partner here. I'm going with the New York Knicks. All right. And this is also something that we wrote about earlier today over at betsided.com for our shameless plug opportunity in the middle of Sport and Order. Listen, Ben Simmons MVP odds right now are through the moon. I guarantee you if he goes to New York, especially with that spotlight, with the marriage with Tom Thibodeau that he didn't know he needed, but he wants. Thibs is somebody that has maximized point guard play all throughout the course of his coaching career. Certainly Derrick Rose is the poster child, but think about some of the scrubs he did it with in Chicago with Aaron Brooks and CJ Miles and DJ Augustine and Nate Robinson. He elevates that position to the point where Ben Simmons has so much more talent than the rest of those guys. Maybe not Derrick Rose, but can elevate him, give him confidence, and a defensive-oriented point guard that's a distributor. Makes a ton of sense in New York. Well, he'll get a lot of that love if he plays well to get MVP consideration. So this is somebody that I think Ben Simmons in that spot could make for a terrific opportunity in New York.
It's an interesting one. I don't know where my guy Derrick Rose goes. Oh, back to Chicago, even sweeter. Ryan, what do you got?
The problem with the Knicks is they don't have the assets to trade with Philadelphia to make that happen. So let's go for reality here. That would be fun, but let's go for reality. Simmons to Toronto in a trade for Kyle Lowry on a sign-and trade and draft picks. Simmons goes to Toronto, gets a little bit less spotlight, it gives a new perimeter leader and an insane defense with Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby, while the Sixers get the point guard in Lowry that fits Doc Rivers' system. He's a floor leader, can hit perimeter jumpers, almost 40% last year from 3, which Doc Rivers needs from his point guards. And on top of that, he's won an NBA championship, something nobody on the Sixers in their leadership core has done. That's the fit that makes sense. Not Portland, not the Warriors. It's Simmons to Toronto for Kyle Lowry in the sign and trade that evens this out.
I love what you just brought to the table, because any concept that they're going to get a huge deal for Ben Simmons just ain't happening with that contract. But could they get an aging Kyle Lowry on a sign and trade? To me, that would be fair value. You get out from under his contract and you get a guy who can help you win right now, which what the
throw
Sixers
some picks in there and make it lovely.
Yeah. Now, Ben, by the way, I love your points too, because Tibbs does turn point guards into point gods, but and schlubs into like legit borderline all-star players. But You know what you could have said too in there, which would have added on to it. Like he took like a Joakim Noah and figured out how to make this guy play. Because playing pick and roll with Ben Simmons ain't going to be great. But that would be a great spot for him. But I like the Toronto thing more as a realistic. So we're at 3-3. Phillips tying it up, and here we go.
Assets either, if we're being completely honest.
Well, somebody's got to get creative here. But all right, here we go. NFL 17-game schedule. I'm not hearing a lot of people talking about this. The Super Bowl is being played February the 13th, the latest that it's ever been played. Some teams have 9 home games. Others got 8. I don't know how that's fair to anybody. And yeah, by the way, it's football. You're putting them in a little more harm's way. One more game, but hey, we all love our football. So the question is, did the NFL make the right call expanding their regular season? First time since 1978. I'm trying to see what people are going to be saying at the end of the year. Ryan, you're up.
No, because we're going to get more injuries. We're going to have fewer games with our big stars that we love in them because they're going to be holding clipboards or in hospital beds because they're injured. But this move was inevitable. The owners were always going to do it. The trade-off should have been getting rid of the preseason completely. College football doesn't have a preseason. We love it. Ohio State and USC, when they travel across the country to play, they don't play in a fake game that doesn't count. They actually play, and we love it. We're all in week 1. They knock heads for real. If you're an executive or a coach and you need fake games to decide who no one cares about to decide who's on your roster, you're bad at your jobs. Get rid of the preseason, do a long camp if you want, and then you can have your 17 games. As long as you have a preseason and those 17 games, it's the wrong move, and it always has been.
Nobody likes the preseason. It's so bad. Ben.
Yeah, Ryan's right about the one thing, and that's nobody likes the preseason. So they got rid of a game to add another one to the regular season, which you're going to watch regardless of whether your favorite players are holding clipboards, whether they're in hospital beds, or wherever else they might be. It's football. It's the NFL. It is the king of all sports across the American universe that is professional sports. People are going to watch. And so if you're the NFL, of course, it's the right move because you've got more eyeballs, you've got more games, you got an extended window to be able to continue to play throughout the postseason. If you're the NFL, why wouldn't you take this as an opportunity for a victory lap? And now no team finishes at 500 unless you factor in a tie. So that's another nice advantage for the NFL. Every team's going to either be under or over to the 500 mark as well.
Watering down the product.
They don't care. Neither do fans.
Well, and we all agree on that we are going to watch because it's the NFL, or we're very proud media workers and we digest every NFL game because that's what you expect us to do. End of the day, look, I think the best solution that would have felt digestible to me, at least, and remotely fair, is exactly what Ryan teed up. Like, get rid of the preseason. We don't need it. Or get it down to one game. If that. Here's the one game where you guys can all try out for roster spots 52, 53, and the rest of you are going to be on the practice squad. I would have gone with none. Would have been totally fine. Yeah. I think in an eke out, more along the lines of I want something for my NFL players that they're not getting, putting in harm's way, risking their lives for us on Sundays. Ryan Phillips is going to take the sport in order by a whisker. 4-3. Heisler with the look at the sportsmanship out of Ben, just cheering him on.
There was a moment, Carm, where I thought you were going to be the Olympic judge and Ryan and I were going to be the 2 pole vaulters and we were going to be able to share the gold medal just for a second. But ultimately, the winning player ended up coming out and I'll just have to beat him next time.
Yeah,
right. We tied 1-1.
That's true. Yeah.
And round 3 sooner than later. We appreciate both masterfully competing today. Ryan, any thoughts on this to wrap up the show here on this Monday?
It was a tough one. By the way, again, get rid of the preseason. Nobody wants it, just in case the NFL is listening. Of course, they listen to everything. But also, Ben, always fun going up against a fellow Hoosier.
Pleasure, my friend.
They're if anything, they're going to add more games onto the preseason before they get rid of the preseason. We all know that's the case. Thank you so much for watching Sport in Order. We appreciate it. 5 Eastern, 4 Central on Mondays. And yes, check out all the great content at fansided.com. The big lead